Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Pinball Arcade. Today we're looking at Jackpot, but before we do that, last recording I mentioned that I'd seen another player of a real pinball, a real world one, playing the creature from Black Lagoon, and the LCD screen was in color, when
My
every
hero.
single LCD screen, if we can look, that has been curated in this curation has been a just monochrome, usually red, uh, monitor that's a dot matrix, where it's just like dots or squares. Um, Even the most recent ones, even the one made by FarSight Studios, the creator of Pinball Arcade. So it was very, very confusing to me to see in the real world this color, and I speculated this might just be terrible emulation on the part of the developers of Pinball Arcade. And if you look here, you can see that this LCD is a little clipped off with over the edges compared to what's being showed in the top left screen. Um, so there is some bad physical emulation there, although maybe in reality that's exactly how it actually did look. So where does the color come from? Because I have now confirmed that this pinball table and pretty much all the pinball tables that, except for things that would have come out in 2008 or later, that would be about my general guess. Every single table has had this traditional single color screen. Um, so there was no color data in the computer running the system telling it to say, draw a picture that says say no to drugs or anything like that. So how could you add color? Well, it turns out that there is an aftermarket product, and it is not cheap, although relatively it may be fairly cheap compared to the ownership of a real pinball table, called Color DMD, as in color dot matrix display. And as best as I can figure, what it's doing is that it has a custom software for very specific tables, so it doesn't work for every table. And that custom software looks very fast at what is being shown on the monitor, what's supposed to be shown on the monitor. And then it looks up in a database pre programmed into it for a new colorized version of that image. And so they've painstakingly added color to where something that once didn't have color. Does it drastically change how you play? Not really, because when you're playing pinball, you're never looking at the dot matrix, anyways. That is totally for uh, the people to the side of you. And as pinball started to die, you kind of didn't really need that. Um, it doesn't seem like Color DMD bothers to change any of the art, really, as far as I can tell. So it's not like you're going to get something completely different. Um, there is a lot of technology that must be going on because the numbers, for instance, would always be random. So you can't just have it do a pattern match to say what's the first frame of, say, the part where it says creature from the Black Lagoon. And then once it recognizes that, put a color version of that. It also has to be able to translate things that say like jackpot to or grand champion. When these numbers and letters are different, it has to pattern match only in part uh, what it's seeing, not a 100% match. The color DMD also, by default, doesn't even come with the color software installed, oddly, and it is just a in-stock replacement for monitors like this, which would have been actual dot matrix displays, and then instead it replaces it with a modern LCD or OLED equivalent of a monitor. But yeah, that's interesting. So I was actually looking at a walkthrough through a pinball museum, and I did see some tables that had color DMD on the top of them as like a little piece of cardboard that said color DMD, and I had no idea what that meant. So they don't brand themselves particularly well because it should just be color mod, uh, or it should be explained um, that the screen is in color. But yeah, the most recent tables, Will Nelly, uh, Doctor Who, all of those tables, Ghostbusters even, all of them still pretty much don't have regular color screens. And see, Ghostbusters is 2016, but this is a premium edition. And so even at that point, is it really worth $400 to add such a tiny screen? Not really, particularly when you think about cell phone screens and like the screen itself is not going to be $400 of an $800 cell phone. And you can easily get a much larger TV, and it's not like you have to push high resolutions. I would think pretty much at this point, though, any new pinball table would probably opt for a color screen. It would just be easier. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if there are premium editions and collector's editions of some tables, but upgrading from black and white to color seems like an odd sell. It would be very weird for pinball to turn into like premium cars, but that probably is a very good equivalence to it, where sure, you might be able to get a car for $10,000 or $20,000 if you get the stock version of the car, but nobody actually has the stock version. They've all added features and elements to bump it up to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for a brand new car.
Let's play a game.
I think we've already played Jackpot, so we may not get the intro. Oh, I guess we haven't. Jackpot 1995 was designed by Barry Arsler and Larry DeMar, and is the third in a series of pinball tables with a robot theme, following Pinbot and the Machine Bride of Pinbot. So Jackpot, I guess, robotic themed, but not really carrying on a direct lineage. We'll see about that. We'll see if we actually do see Pinbot. Actually, I just saw him in the background, but he kind of looks like a slot machine now. This space age casino pinball experience features both risk and skill based features, including an awesome multi-ball mode and 5 different casino games that allow you to cheat for huge points during the exciting casino run. Bonus rounds, you can press your winnings and go for more against the clock. The playfield includes the same robotic visor from Pinbot that opened to reveal the 2 eye eject holes. 2,428 units of this table were produced. Now there is a law, and this might be only for Las Vegas and not anywhere else, that if you depict something that is gambling, it has to have the same odds as real gambling. So if you depict that there's a deck with 52 cards, then there has to literally be one ace of spades, one ace of hearts, and so on and so on. And you can't cheat. And there has been, up until this point, a very real scare towards the idea that people might once again accuse pinball of being gambling. So we haven't seen a lot of gambling themed tables. Also, inherently, you are potentially pushing someone to go gamble instead of playing pinball, so you're driving them away from that form of entertainment, which they definitely are competitors. Any form of entertainment is basically a competitor to pinball, because it is such a difficult game to potentially own or play, compared to, say, a digital download on a PC, or a game on a cell phone, or just watching TV, listening to the radio. This table feels very similar to the original Pinbot, so maybe the angles are slightly different, and maybe it has some slightly different game modes, but it seems the layout is almost exactly the same. Here you have a new Pinbot lady in a different pose for this upper playfield, which isn't that great. You have a different color spinner, which this time it doesn't say numbers, so that means it can be programmed. Where if we went back and looked at a lot of the older tables, a lot of them said the exact amount that something would score, and they were working towards eliminating that. There's 3 standing targets where it looks like there might have been room for more. There's basically looks like you can just smack directly into some lights on the edge there. That seems like an odd thing to have open. But maybe those are bumpers and not lights. But they don't seem to have much rubber around them. Yeah, it really does look like... I wish I could turn the monitor some way. But yeah, it totally looks like there's a LED light bulb just fully exposed to get smack a ball at it. You go up the ramp, and then it goes through this and eliminates the ball some way down to this through the back here. See, the black on the different colors actually I think is a mistake, because then this black loop here feels like it's connected to that when it actually isn't. This art looks a little bit different, a little bit better, but otherwise, yeah, this seems pretty much the same. And arguably, I would say the 3 pop-up bumpers with the top field being hidden kind of sucks, but it's not terrible. It's very close to the original. I wouldn't be surprised if they took a lot of broken parts from the original Pinbot and rebuilt this, or it was a specific desire to replace Pinbot tables with something slightly newer, which, had pinball not completely failed in the 90s, that would have been part of its continued success, if it was having success, in the fact that that you would remake old tables and resell old tables, and maybe buy back some old tables and reuse the parts. This flyer is extremely weird in that it has the Underwriter Labs logo twice on this flyer. But otherwise, I have nothing to say about it. So we want to score a center vortex skill shot, which I assume is the middle one, as it was before. Collect the Keno Award Arrow Award. Keno is not a gambling game I'm particularly familiar with. Score a double or nothing, cash a bonus, and earn an extra ball. It's almost slightly insulting that Pinbot and Rydo Pinbot would, as robots, then be replaced with a glorified slot machine. So we can hit the ball back into this. Now, this table will have a lot more displaying on this dot matrix, when I think the original Pinbot didn't even have a dot matrix screen. The music definitely sounds different. Now, one thing I don't like immediately about this table is the fact that there is pictures of flippers on the table where the flippers are. And that's just kind of crazy. There's a skill shot. It's not particularly a difficult skill shot, but I can't say I hate it. No ball saver. But there's a center peg. No kickback. So it's the LCD screen that's telling you what the score is for that spinner, and that allows the spinner, the vortex at the top, to have a increasing score, which means that this table probably scores a lot higher than the original Pinbot. But I really have to question if that means anything, if that's viable. But going through a bunch of doors, which could either be a reference to Mystery Science Theater 3000, or it could be a reference to Get Smart, although probably in 95 it's closer to Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's weird that the extra ball is blinking. Is this gonna be a rare instance in which I could actually that alien animation has been used on several tables. I don't know which table it originates from though.
Jackpot.
I mean, is this a case where I got a prime shot and then immediately drained? Well, I'm hitting the right bump and left bump, and that's not giving me an extra ball, which that would be asking too much. And see, if I press start, nothing happens, so select doesn't do anything either. So I can't put in more coins. Arguably, Pinball Arcade does have this weird, like, purist mode mentality to it that needed to be adjusted. There are undoubtedly some people that would just want to play an easy mode where they could add more coins and get an extra ball if the table allowed for that. I feel like this table originally, or the original Pinbot table, yeah, to be more correct, I feel like there was a ramp that lifted on that left lane ramp, and you could sometimes shoot the ball into a sinkhole under there. And so I'm not sure if that still exists. We've only seen a couple tables that have had ramps that lift. And it's probably something that broke quite often, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's in part why it didn't get increased. Okay.
Double or nothing. Let it ride.
So that sinkhole, starts the gambling, which does make that sinkhole more valuable as an idea. I assume what we're trying to do as far as the jackpot would be a fairly difficult cross shot if I was going to try and sink both balls into the eye sockets at the nearly exact same time. You, in this voice to text mode, can pretty much hear that they are intentionally making it sound robotic, whereas the original Pinbot was just probably an after effect of the level of technology that actually existed during the time. See, I've gotten like 2 high scores already fairly easily, but in all fairness, I've basically played this table. We just need an extra ball and the cash on your bonus, which I think we can do either one of those fairly easily. It would simply be a matter of being lucky.
Bonus multiplied.
I think there is
I'll take a card.
definitely a lot more voice acting in this table than the original Pinbot. There's no lane select, and that feels like something that should be in every table. Like, it feels fairly odd when we get a modern third generation or fourth generation table, whatever you'd break the generations by, and it's still missing some element.
Double or nothing.
So cashing in is not the same as collecting your bonus. So there must be some other shot we're aiming for. Something that would either light up all these cards, because we can see that there are blinking cards, but I'm not sure what starts them. This still, as a table, pretty much focuses on trying to get multiball and only multiball. And I have to wonder if Jackpot as a name only exists for the pun. This is another example where it feels like the nostalgia of the table designers themselves has made a decision to create this table. Either that or they fully, by 1995, had realized that there are no new fans of pinball and only old people who had been playing the table of Pinbot would be still playing by 1995. And that's a weird way to try and take your industry, to say, well, we've lost all the kids and now we're just like the vintage record industry, where we're just selling the same limited edition records to people who are still using a turntable. And if there's one thing, I think the Whisper campaign and the general idea that records sound better than, say, CDs is one of the few things that has kept records to still exist. Because practically in every way, records are way worse than CDs, and they're completely uncomparable to, say, DVD, a WAV file, are they MKVs? I know that's what the videos use these days. No, FLAC, free lossless audio codec, would be what you would use audio for. Nowadays, for a high resolution lossless audio encoding, there was a truth that tube amplification and old record players did feel warmer, to use kind of a term of art there, compared to a CD player that wouldn't really have as much bass. And there is a truth that most people are so enamored with bassy sounds that it can sound considerably worse in every other aspect, but if there is more bass, people will like it. Ah, there is a pop-up ramp, if I can hit it. So I suppose, to not get into too much of a rant, had pinball sold itself as we're better than video games, we're real, we give actual haptic feedback, there's actually something happening when you press a button, you might have been able to convince a few more people to play a few more pinball tables that way, appealing to a collector mentality. There's the extra ball. I don't know what I just did to earn them extra ball, though. That's weird. It seems like I just kind of earned enough points And that was it.
Shoot again.
So yeah, that might have worked a little bit, but it isn't going to work a lot. I mean, that is basically what pinball is nowadays, is the idea of selling to collectors. Whether those collectors have massive collections and call themselves pinball museums and are actually just arcades, or whether those are the collectors or people that have just a few tables or only one or two tables in their house. But they aren't getting anywhere close to a economy of scale as far as pinball designs. Let's see how we cash out. When this ramp is shot and the ball enters the mini playfield, the game begins cycling through these 4 wards. When the ball feeds into the right lane, it's possible the ward's cashier raises the ramp for 10 seconds. When the ramp is raised, shooting the cashier target scores 2x the end of the ball bonus, mega ramp. So it seems like every time you're gonna hit the ramp. Light extra ball. That might have been how I got extra ball. I don't think so though. So it must be cashier that we're trying for.
Welcome to the casino.
So then we kind of know what we're targeting. Now I want to say something fairly controversial here, considering how I have said that was collect bonus. See, that feels like that should have been where you would have gotten that award. I've complained quite a bit about female representation on these tables. And this is a table that literally has 2 female robot characters that are drawn. Very humanoid when Jack Pinbot, which I assume is now been replaced with Jackpot, and that's the main character we're seeing. So a newer version of Pinbot, I would assume, canonically in the story. But yeah, Jackpot / Pinbot looks very much like a robot and nothing like a human. And so, yeah, the 2 female robots on this table are arguably just there to be objects of desire. So, where's the controversy as far as what I've been saying consistently up until this point? I don't think, in this instance, we need a female voice actress. And in all fairness, we don't really need the female characters at all. But it is a little weird to my sentimentalities at this current moment as I'm thinking and just shooting my mouth off. It feels really weird to have a voice acting going on from a female robot when this table is specifically called Jackpot. Also, it feels slightly like the Bride of Pinbot as a character had already been done, and it would be a little weird to make a 4th table in this series and make a Bride of Jackpot table when honestly this is
Double or nothing.
this really is a table that is effectively the child of Jackpot and Bride of Pinbot, and the child of Pinbot and the Bride of Pinbot, clearly. And since the Bride of Pinbot gets turned into a human when you succeed on her table, then Jackpot should be a half human, half robot design. as far as how the canonical story would make sense to me. There's definitely some angles still on this table though, that I'm not really appreciating a lot of. We've seen a lot of outlane drains, and that feels like that could have been increased and improved. Just like kickback would honestly have helped. Yeah, it seems like it may just take me a few tries to cash out the way they want me to cash out for that standard goal. One thing I want to do though is I'm confused as to why there's a extra ball icon display. Like, where on this screen would there be anything that would say extra ball? See, yeah, this is like supposed to be the new girlfriend, and he is effectively groping her boob because his hand is drawn so large. So they're kind of selling on sex, which is weird to say the least. And there's a little Joker character. It's so blown out I can't even see it. And a little space station that's a roulette wheel. It's a weird combination of themes. But yeah, he's holding her. She's got an ace of spades. It's a weird combination of themes, but yeah, I'm not seeing any topper or anything here that looks like it would light up when you have an extra ball. Which then makes me wonder if there was a button on the front of the panel, which you can't even see. Let's say extra ball. I don't see any buttons on the side as far as a secondary button. There's a shoot again light here. So, but there is a pro mode, so we also know this isn't the first version. Alright, so I can hit that and I can press the Y button on the controller and turn that off if I want. I done messed up the entirety of the views because there are two views. There's the ball launching view, and then there's the playing the game view.
Draw a card.
Let's play the knife.
Yeah, she plays kind of like a instructive dealer character.
Shoot under the lamp. You're ready to rock a ball.
5.
But to backtrack a little, maybe there's an argument that there should always be two voices. That way you can get the attention of the player and break everything up. And if you were to compare it to just regular video games, there's no voice video game out there, or very few voice video games out there where there's literally only one person talking. Maybe a few walking simulators do something like that, but almost every other game would have a couple of characters voiced, and that audio-wise can break up the conversations and break up your attention. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jackpot text-to-speech, which isn't particularly great by modern standards, was just a little easy to tune out. It would make so much sense now to go and make a deal with Amazon or Apple or Google and say, whichever voice assistant you want, that is going to be our new 4th game in the Pinbot series. We're going to put an actual Alexa or whatever in the table. It's going to be smaller, and it's going to have limited responses that only relate to the pinball, to the actual game of pinball that's going on, but otherwise it's going to knock the socks off of people, or at least feel like a modern thought there. And then what you would do is you'd have the walking dog robot and some other technology things. Like in 2021, there definitely are a way you can combine new technologies that actually exist in a ridiculous way for a ridiculous, like, parody pinball table. Like that vortex spiral at the beginning, completely replace that with like an Alexa.
Shoot again.
And then the ball sinks down the Alexa, and then you have the actual Alexa voice going, saying something funny when that happens. Like skill shot, at the very least, have it say skill shot. And if you can get somebody to let you use their voice assistants, then you can almost certainly at that point get somebody to fund the development and selling of the table. Amazon.com in particular would be highly well suited for that, because they have the distribution and the sales of items. So it would make so much sense to have an Amazon.com sponsored table. And you've got the pun there too, PrimeBot. Yeah. So yeah, PrimeBot as the name. Put a Alexa in it, I believe is Amazon's one. Then you develop a new table. You get away from the gambling, in my opinion, because I think the gambling element is not something that's a great idea for pinball. See, what I'm thinking you're supposed to do, and what I keep failing to do, is shoot up the ramp. Yeah. So I need to get really good at getting the ball up that left ramp. So yeah, I just realized I've been doubling and nothing everything every time, and I haven't actually collected it but maybe once. This table, just like Pinbot, still has that weird entranceway to the pop-up bumpers. Although, for as many tables that have missed having pop-up bumpers, or just because they couldn't squeeze them into a top lane at the back, the idea of having kind of a sneak shot is more appealing than not having pop-up bumpers at all. This table also feels like it is designed fairly well so that you can't have the ball just drain down the center lane, because if you do shoot directly in the center, it seems to it does seem to kind of curve the ball in such a way that it goes to either the left or the right of the flippers. And unless that means they've raised the table slightly in the center, the fact that the ball is not going down the center lane really is just a testament to good design. I think also because the sinkholes under the eyes are holding pinballs. When you hit a ball with a ball, and this is something you learn in billiards, the only way you're going to bounce directly backwards when hitting a cue ball against another pool table ball is if you put a lot of lower English on it and hit it at the bottom part and you hit it fairly hard. If you hit it at a right angle, or if you hit it dead center on, the cue ball tends to stop when that shot is done perfectly. It will just lose all of its momentum and transfer it to the other ball. And that's where the idea of having a trapped pinball would make some sense. And so if you were going to have a trapped ball, it should potentially be somewhere where you want the ball to lose all momentum and just fall down slowly. So if we look at a table, where are some places where you'd like the ball to lose all momentum and fall down slowly? Well, you could have a trapped ball at an angle here, going up to this way, and then it would fall down towards the in lane. And that's pretty much it, because if you shoot it in the center, it loses momentum and drains down the middle. If you shoot it at a slight angle, it might lose all momentum and fall down to the flipper, which wouldn't be terrible. If it's at a sharp angle and you hit it, it'll just lose all momentum and eventually hit the slingshot. If you hit a sunken ball far in the corner, it will lose all momentum and maybe make it to the in lane, but maybe also bounce to the out lane. This light over here that I was concerned about hitting seems like you're kind of unlikely you're ever going to actually hit. So if you were going to make a Prime Bot table, you'd have a Amazon Prime swoosh. You would have a sales mode, a Prime Day mode. You'd have like Prime Video and Prime Games and some of their crossover products, Fresh Direct. You try to promote and advertise every part of that if it makes sense. Or maybe you don't and you just have the Alexa only element. This is one of those tables where if I'm gonna make that double nothing shot, I am gonna have to get better at flipping the ball from the left flipper to the right flipper, which is not really a skill I've ever been great at. Although arguably I seem to do fairly well on these tables, regardless of what I feel like are fairly large limitations. That might be a slight problem with pinball in general, is that nobody feels like they're the perfect pinball player, where I feel like some esports players out there probably do feel like they're the perfect gamer, and a lot of even mediocre gamers feel like they're really, really good at video games, because video games are much better at cheating to make you feel like a winner, and cheat in your favor. There is a ball saver mode, but the timer is not high enough. I still feel like you have a scenario with this table that they've failed to really address, in that it is so one note. Like there's literally only one thing to do. So unlike Star Trek The Next Generation, there just aren't different modes or different things to do. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't potentially put a launcher on this table. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't have some new gimmick. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't at the very least have a 4-ball multi-ball instead of a 2-ball multi-ball. We don't even have a 3-ball multi-ball mode, it seems like. So you're gonna have this eventual just boring outcome for
Welcome to the casino.
for this table, because you're gonna feel like you've done everything you can do, whether or not that you've done everything on the table. Yeah. And it, from a 2021 standard, it kind of feels like Jackpot is just the degenerate gambling addict son of Rydo Pinbot and Pinbot, when you probably would want to promote more science and space things. Like, you might get a famous Bill Nye to voice some lines in a table like this, or Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson is known for space stuff, so he would make a lot of sense in a table themed around space. And he's only slightly controversial as a character. So and there's plenty of space tables that you could get like celebrity voice actors in that way, or you just get like celebrities in general. Like I'm kind of a little surprised that there isn't a Pamela Anderson themed barbed wire pinball table somewhere out there. Maybe something like that does exist, because that movie, if I recall correctly, was promoted fairly high. See, the multi-ball there shows 3 balls. There's literally only 2 balls. Huh. Unless there's some other shot you have to do to start the 3-ball multi-ball, which might be the case. And I almost was able to get the ball back up the vortex, but the idea that there's a ramp far, far to the top right that could get up the vortex is bad. And what you would want to do to fix that is add a launcher.
Roll the dice.
Have an auto launcher that launches the ball instead of a plunger for the skill shot, which no, that is not something I would really want. So I'd have to think of a different way to accomplish the same thing. We've really yet to see a table that has a plunger and an auto launcher built in, although those do exist. Every game I'm scoring fairly high here, and yet this standard goal is eluding me. So you want a plunger here, but I'd like the ball to be able to hit about here, which you can hit inward, the ball here, and then launch up to this point. So what could we do to make that happen? So then you would get an auto launcher that shoots the ball all the way up to the vortex. The plunger could just shoot the ball there. Sure. There's probably a great reason why they have never like captured a ball here and then they launched another ball, say up here, and then you hit a captive ball to launch. They probably do want you to cycle the different pinballs so that they might not have one that gets particularly dirty. Although every other captive ball on the table would pretty much still always be on the play field. I think what you do is there's not really enough curve for this. You would need a gate, is what you would need. You need a metal gate that's curved right here that opens up so when you launch and launches the ball up that way. But then otherwise, when you hit this, it curves the ball so that it's going up straight. And maybe you don't put a launcher and it's just a force of can you hit the ball up that angle, but you're not likely to actually hit the ball up that angle anyway, so maybe you do put a launcher, a scoop of a sorts. And if you were going to make a scoop launcher, then it would have to be facing this direction, which means you'd have to hit the ball up, get around the scoop, and then sink back in for a sinkhole. Over here, there is a standing target, so maybe you replace that standing target with a launcher instead, because that shot is the shot clearly I need to practice on. Definitely feels like there should be something more here, and not just another drop-down target. So some form of gimmick, a sinkhole or something, feels like it deserves to exist. There's a lot of space here on the left that's kind of pointless, so either you widen up this ramp and make it easier, or you do something different. Feels like a diverter at this point might be useful if it was going to take you somewhere else, but I don't know where it could take you somewhere else.
Do you want to play a game?
As iconic as Pinbot is, there definitely is a reason why we haven't seen some of the ideas that it introduces replicated. We never saw the color grid concept redone. We never saw the eyeball concept redone. That is taking up a lot of space, certainly on the tables. The whole Jackpot visor.
Double or nothing.
Double the stake. Game soccer infinite. Give me a card. 3. 1. 0.
I'm just so used to shooting up the center lane on this table that I can't get those double or nothing shots. This is a table that's probably a great example of what a pro pinball player would play and would do. I imagine a table like this is super popular amongst pro players because you are just doing the same thing over and over again. There's a limited number of shots. There's not any crazy randomness. There's no mystery wheel, which it's shocking that there isn't. There's no randomized rewards. There's kind of no reason why a robot would just have 2 eyes. So it would make a decent amount of sense to add a 3rd eye, so you could add a third pinball. And maybe that means you go like a 3rd eye transcendental type meditation theme, and you have Jackpot be a spiritual character, which that would be very interesting considering because the original Pinbot is a robot through and through from the feel of it, and then the Bride of Pinbot is an android that turns into a human. So if you're going from robot to human, the next step would be enlightened being of some point. So, yeah.
Ideal.
You could, if you were going to make a PrimeBot themed table, which arguably I'm not sure people really would want to play a table that is effectively just an advertisement for an online web service that a lot of people hate for good reason. But if you were going to do that, you could have the pop-up bumpers being hard drives or data servers, and so the servers are rocking, or the servers are down, or like that would be IT wise kind of funny to hit a pinball to a giant rack of servers and knock it over. But maybe you'd want a hard drive, so the hard drives are spinning up mentality, and not say that the servers that Amazon runs are prone to being knocked out, because honestly they aren't that bad. The AWS service is pretty decent and a lot of people use it. You could do liquid cooling as a theme, certainly as far as computers, and just put some liquid cooling tubes all around the edge of the table and just as displays. Like, a new Pinbot would be some kind of AI quantum computer, and so you would want to embrace that idea. Lower down the width of the circuitry, so you start with like 10 nanometer circuitry, and then you bring it down to 9, 8, 7, 5, and then you eventually get to a quantum level. And like every pop-up bumper could increase the gigahertz of the processing. You could have a ramp that adds RAM, a ramp that adds graphic memory, video memory, a power supply upgrade. A PC building themed table alone works, so maybe that's what you would go with more, instead of being PrimeBot, or a bot that is around Amazon Prime. Maybe you still use that Pun, because that's a pretty decent bot. Pun, you could take broken like mini ITX motherboards and put them under the playfield. You could put all kinds of ridiculous RGB lighting everywhere, because that's what a lot of people who build computers do anyways. Consistently sourcing a broken ITX motherboard, though, is mini ITX motherboard, which would be the only one that would really fit, would probably be slightly expensive. But you wouldn't really have to source too many, just 1,000 or so, a couple thousand maybe. What you would do, I think, even smarter than that, is simply have the computer and circuitry that you're going to have to custom build anyways for a pinball table nowadays. Have that see-throughable as a under the playfield display, and then just have it slightly designed different in the circuitry design to look very similar to a consumer motherboard, when it really wouldn't actually look that way. It would be much more industry designed and simplified. This is a table that feels like it needs a second way to register There we go, finally. Finally got it. And so the most logical thing to do now would be to simply end the game and try this wizard goals. But that once again highlights how the wizard goals distract you from doing the right thing when playing pinball, which would be to actually just play the best game you can play.
Game starter is lit. Let's play the slot machine. Jackpot!
Well,
Bonus multiplied. Shoot the left, right.
I don't know what I'm particularly aiming for. I'm over 1 billion. It says shoot the left ramp. The score multiplier seems to be at the max, which that seems like that was a little too easy to pull off. But it definitely felt like almost everything had been lit up, and that got me into the first position. Yeah, 1 billion was all I needed, or over 914 million, I suppose is what I needed. Yeah, I've just wrecked this high score table. So, they want us to score 24 million in roll of the dice. Now, wouldn't that mean that I'd have to get a 12, a 6, and a 6, and double it? It wants me to get 4 of a kind in poker. It wants me to score a super jackpot. It wants me to collect 1 billion plus casino run total and score the mega jackpot, which is different than the super jackpot. So let's just look at the instructions here. When roll of the dice is activated, a pair of dice were rolled on the display. The total value of the dice is then multiplied times the current dice game wager value. The dice game wager starts at 3 million. Each solar jump increases it. So it's not a base thing. Okay. Carries over throughout the game. How do we get 4 of a kind poker? The card lamps here show your current poker hand. At the start of the game, one of the cards is automatically collected. Collected cards are lit solid. Next card will, they can be collected flashes. The currently flashing card changes each time you hit the solar bumper, so that's pretty much random. To collect cards, each time a bank target is completed, when the card added Kino award arrow is collected, which I don't know if that means hitting the center lane or you have to do something else. When the poker card is collected from a casino run. One of the random slot machines award is add 10 cards. This automatically completes 2 poker hands. Cards collected for poker are cumulative throughout the game. Each card collected earns this much. How do you get 4 of a kind though? There's only 3 aces and 2 twos. That's a full house. Once pinball poker is activated, point values determined based on the strength of your hand. 1 ace, 1 deuce, or an ace and a deuce is worth that much. Any pair is worth that much. 2 pairs worth that. 3 of a kinds. Collecting all 5 cards gives you a full house. Another feature of this casino games activated from the saucer is they allow you to cheat. When the Pinbot poker is announced on the display, repeatedly press the extra ball for a chance to cheat. Okay. So that explains the button. If you're successful, Pinbot will add an ace to your poker hand, increasing its value. If you've already got 3 aces, then that gives you a fourth of a kind. Okay. That's crazy. When the robot visor is opened and the first and second are locked. First time multi-ball is activated, it's a 2-ball mode. Each subsequent time multi-ball is activated, it's a 3-ball mode. The exception is if multi-ball is collected from a slot machine. The goal during multi-ball is to score 15 jackpots to activate Mega Visor mode. Once multi-ball is activated, the left eye and the right eye, the cashier target, and the hit me targets light for jackpots. Completing any of these shots scores a jackpot and turns that shot off. Shooting balls into the left eye or right eye within a couple seconds of each other scores a super jackpot worth 3 times. That's what I thought. This counts as 3 of the 15 jackpots required to activate Mega Visor mode. If all 4 jackpot shots are completed and turned off, one of the jackpot shots relights starting with the cashier target. If at least 1 jackpot shot is turned off, shooting the game saucer relights all 4 jackpots. If all 4 jackpot shots are lit, shooting the game saucer scores a jackpot. When multi-ball is a 3-ball mode, or when it is started by collecting multi-ball award, begins by launching a ball from the plunger, which I do believe that is an auto launcher. Completing the center hole for the skill shot scores a jackpot. Jackpot can also be scored by collecting jackpot in the casino run. Let's see. Once 15 jackpots are scored, the robot visor closes and the Mega Visor mode starts. Refer to Mega Visor chapter for details. Okay. This is collect a 1 billion plus casino run. Casino runs are great ways for playing casino games from the game saucer. Each time all 4 casino games are played, casino run lights into game saucer. Shoot the game saucer to activate it. Casino runs begins by spinning 3 reels on the display. Prizes on each of the reels are either automatically awarded or added to the casino run total, starting with 100 million. If one of the reels is a bomb, the casino run ends, and nothing in the casino run total is awarded. Once casino run is calculated, you have an option to risk your bank and continue, or collect your winnings. Engage the left flipper to collect, and right flipper to risk the bank and continue. You have 10 seconds to make a selection or collect is automatically selected. So we haven't done that at all. If you choose to risk the bank and continue, the ball is ejected from the game saucer and the 45-second timer begins counting down. Once the ball is in play, all switches on the playfield add 4 million points to the casino run timer. If the timer expires at any point, casino run ends and nothing is awarded. Once the ball is in play, your goal is to shoot the game saucer, left eye or right eye. Completing any of these shots gives you 3 reels again. So that's pretty much insane. Even with the cheating aspect, it's kind of insane. But that's maybe the only way you actually get up to 1 billion. Just getting to the casino run seems like it would be fairly difficult on this table. So, Mega Jackpot. Mega Visor mode is a reward for scoring 15 jackpots during multi-ball, which is kind of crazy in the first place. The visor closes and all of the chest panel lamps turn off. The goal is now to relight all 25 lamps by shooting the visor targets or the side targets, and scores 50 million points. Once all 25 lamp panels are lit, it scores a super jackpot worth 750 million, which that's a crazy high score considering the high score table, and reopens. If 3 balls in play, lock the ball in the left eye, the right eye. Once a ball is locked in either eye, a ball must be locked in the other eye within 8 seconds or the ball is ejected. If 2 balls are in play, only 1 ball must be locked, left or right. Once the required number of balls are locked, the ramp lowers within 20 seconds and to score the mega jackpot with a billion points. Yeah. So that just seems like a lot of stuff. So I need to keep an eye out for when we see the extra ball flashing. And we'll push the right bump repeatedly to see if that does anything. If not, Pinball Arcade has that button associated with something else. This is one of those tables where you would have to pretty much nudge quite a bit too. You did blink for a second there, which makes me wonder if you could actually get extra balls during the ball drain out process. And it seems like there's not really going to be a too soon response if you did mash the extra ball. So theoretically, if you had like a turbo button enabled, always pressing the extra ball. There we go.
Where? I saw that.
So there I did just cheat.
Let's play a game.
So she doesn't seem to really care. The girl dealer robot doesn't seem to care that you are cheating.
5. Big points.
Now, I guess the question would be, do you have to get 15 jackpots, not jackpots, in the same multiball mode, or can you get 15 cumulatively over the course of several multiball modes? Because that would be much more reasonable.
9. Double or nothing.
So you do get an extra, not an extra ball, but you get an extra multiplier, so you can massively increase your game score by cheating the table. That seems like a really dumb idea though. Like, and so you can hear it's making that sound effect. And see, the dealer seems to be more than willing to let him cheat and thinks it's funny, which is weird in a game that you can just cheat and that there's literally just button mashing being added. This is like a QuickTime event before QuickTime events were a huge thing in video games. It's like, and I assume that there's probably a randomness to this and you don't always win. just kind of have to question though whether I'm actually going to be able to accomplish a lot of these wizard goals. Like so many other tables, they seem to be late game difficulty spike style tables. Like only one match there. Let's see, that a weak shot like that doesn't give you any kind of like benefits. That feels like that should be a skill shot.
Look, there's Ruby.
Where? Ace of clubs. I saw that.
So there was 2 pair. It's weird because effectively Jackpot has way more personality if you cheat compared to not cheating. And I could see a tiny percentage of people playing pinball that would not like the idea of cheating, and I could see some parents going, no, you can't cheat on this game. Like, just like you're not allowed to cheat on any game. I'm not going to encourage my kid to cheat, particularly cheat at gambling, to end up getting their legs broken in the back of a shady casino. Yeah, you get very far away from the feeling of playing pinball all of a sudden when you're mashing the extra ball button. I really feel like there should have been something in the table description that said press the right bump button, or press the secondary flipper button to cheat. It did say that you could cheat on the table, but I thought they just meant storyline wise you would cheat on the table. You'd hit some kind of bumper or standing target and then that would activate cheat mode. Yep. One thing they could have improved is the center target with eyes. That could have been a much smaller point that curves to left or right. Or maybe that's the third ball sinkhole point for a third eye.
Multiplied. Cash in.
Hitting the eye did also cash in. Interesting. So there is kind of a second way to activate some of that stuff if you have the eyes open. If is a big if. See, that's like 2. I guess Keno is fairly easy to figure out
Double or nothing.
as a reward, so it's not terrible. But they could have gone well blackjack, but that would have been
Hey.
a little weird. They have 2 card games, and I think that's what they were trying to do, is have different kinds of things. I'm a little surprised there isn't a roulette option if you're going with this gambling theme. It almost feels like this was a gambling themed concept of a table first, and then they brought the jackpot concept into it and expanded from there. Didn't hit the extra ball enough. I was scratching my head. So I've been playing for an hour and 20 minutes, and well, I think this is a table that is going to make it in the favorites. I put this at best at 9th best table, probably closer to 13th of the listings. It does have an easiness to it, but it also kind of has a blandness to it. Let's see if we could make any major changes to the settings, because there definitely are some things I think you could adjust. Buy extra ball being off, first of all. That would be nice if we could. Last easy multi-ball. Chest extra ball memory, poker extra ball memory, ramp extra ball memory, slot match extra ball memory, cash run extra ball memory. You may want to turn all of those off because it may mean that if it remembers, it won't let you get an extra ball again. Cheating allowed could be totally disabled. Special percentage is only 7%, turn that way up. Free ride time seems to only be 2 seconds, let's turn that up. Target drop target difficulty is that easy. See, and if the visor was broken on this table, you pretty much couldn't even play the table at that point. Mega visor, turn that down to easy. Yeah, you can disable the visor completely and disable the ramp. That pops up. But yeah, not really a lot there that you can change.
Do you want to play a game?
The movie that phrase is famous from is War Games, which, while Hackers is a bit more dumb fun, War Games is a much better, it's actually kind of like a romance story.
Look, there's Rudy.
Where?
2 aces.
You're cheating.
Let it ride.
So now I'm really cheating because I am using ball control.
Big points.
Right.
I'll take a card.
So
I'll take one. Give me a card.
there's a hand complete.
Extra ball is lit.
So I like that.
Nice. 8.
8 towards that is 28 million, which I think
Bonus multiplied. I'll take a card.
fairly hard to double your winnings even cheating.
I'll take 1. Give me a card.
Okay, that's what you would
Let's
need
play the slot machine.
as far as the card mode. Alright, so at that point, this starts the multi-ball. And so this would be an element of getting both balls to kind of cooperate.
Jackpot!
Let's see, this pop-up target is another jackpot. And then over here is another jackpot. Because that shot is pretty hard to do. And see, if you already have a ball locked and you shoot the same angle, I kind of feel like I'd like to improve the game so that that still counted. And you could probably do that just with having really sensitive switches in the sinkholes, because anytime the ball would have been nudged a little bit, that feels like that would have. We need 6 more of these. It's just not really realizable or realistic that you'd actually get all of those. And see, then I have to kind of relight the eyes or hit some other targets. So you have to be really, really good at 4 different shots. 3 more still need to be done. So I need to hit this to reset it so that I can do it. Which means that top left shot is just going to constantly be an extra issue, an extra shot that you absolutely need to be able to pull off. Alright, so Mega Visor is now enabled, which means I have to hit everything a lot of times. Eventually this will light everything, but it's gonna take its sweet time. And it doesn't feel like there's anything on the table that would improve your odds of hitting or locking in specific targets. So you just have to be really good at the shots. In all fairness, I suppose that is really what Pinbot was all about too, is being really good at the shots. Although they help you quite a bit. So there's our super jackpot. And then it wants me to go for the left ramp for the super jackpot. So I don't know what you're even really targeting now, because to me it kind of feels like you're hit as much as you can and you've done as much as you can, and like every other ball control mode, this is just killing my thumb. Here, let me see if I can switch over to my other thumb using the D-pad. There clearly is a better way this could have been programmed. Right. Let's see if we can get both eyes. Nope. Because I shot them both, they're both trapped up there. And so it's gonna wait and try and eject the ball. Let's see. Yeah, I cannot get these to wave. I can't get them to be where they need to be. Line up the ball. See, they're both somewhat close. And see, hitting both just ejects one. And I can line up the ball as much as I want with ball control, but actually getting the ramp shot, I don't think really helps. Let's see. Because I'm either gonna slightly miss it one way or slightly miss it the other. You notice it's ejecting the ball in such a way from the right eye that it ends up hitting the left flipper, which is not lining it up at all to actually hit the ramp. I think what we need to have happen here is to have a ball train. So let's do that. And then the multi-ball. And then
Double or nothing.
You're ready to raise the stakes.
alright, we're at like 9 billion now.
Casino run.
It's saying to cheat now. Tap, 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 tap. Just pressing the button like crazy. Unlimited balls for 45 seconds. Get the prize special, extra ball, 100 million, avoid bombs.
Don't stop now.
Let's see.
Light is ride.
So, then to get the billion casino run,
Again. Let it ride.
it's just a matter of getting the ball into the different targets. The bomb
Don't quit
defused.
now.
Interesting.
Do you want more?
Let's see. Collect 200,000.
I want more.
Yeah, this seems insane that you would just keep on doing this.
Keep going.
Like,
Light is
because that
ride.
doesn't seem like it's really increasing the reward enough for this to make sense.
Don't stop now.
Hmm.
Let it ride.
Like, unless there was a multiplier happening around this.
Too bad.
Too bad.
So yeah, you would have to get really, really lucky on that run.
Hit me.
Hmm.
Shoot the left ramp.
So it wants me to hit the left ramp before I can activate another game mode. Which that's the shot that's I'm not doing great at. I don't think there's a real argument towards getting yet another multi-ball, other than it would just, in a regular game, actually keep you in play. And it seems like you really only get to
Cash in.
That took skill.
alright, let's get 4 aces before we start the card game, which might be what we're about to do.
A card.
Or the 3 aces, and then we'll try and cheat.
I'll take one. Give me a card.
Alright, so I have 3 aces.
Kino.
Look over there.
Where?
Hmm.
Hey,
25 matches. Wow, that's some like a max cheat. I'll just go and cash in for that. And we've got to hit the angle again. Well, I guess we're working towards multiball whether we wanted to or not. Line up the shot. Yeah. Once again, this is just a one of those tables with where the angles are a little tight, and so you're gonna have that extra thing. Right, it says hit me, so does that mean hit that?
We have a winner. Where's my paycheck?
3. Wow.
And we also cashed in. Almost drained the ball there. So once again hit this ramp.
Shoot the ramp.
Mega ramp has a nice extra animation. Right.
Poker.
3 aces.
Double or nothing.
The cheat didn't work. So you may have like 3 aces and it still may not really work for you. Which, yeah, that sucks. So I think that means I've pretty much hit a point where even cheating, there's only so much I can do. Unless a 3-ball multi-ball lets for a mega multi-ball. I don't know what we're really aiming for here.
Rydo.
Let's just try and hit everything as much as possible and get into mega mode. It actually does feel like it kind of helps you a little bit more than it would seem like it does.
Go for the left ramp.
Alright. 2 balls locked. Left ramp shot. Almost had that. And see, that was the mega jackpot. So it does just have to be a 3-ball mode. Which oddly, then that does mean that I was gonna play for a while there. Let's go ahead and let 2 balls drain out though. Because otherwise this game is just gonna go on forever.
Roll the dice.
9 billion times 3 times 12 is 100. Let's see. And see, unless you're gonna double for nothing, I don't think you're getting up to quite 24 million in that instance either.
Go for casino run.
So you're gonna have to hit this shot and cheat quite a bit. $50 million, $50 million special.
I want more.
And then I don't think hitting anything else matters.
Do you want more? Keep going. Hey, point. Again?
Let it ride.
See, yeah, unless there was something more to increase the bank,
Take a card.
which the second you start that countdown, it seems like it screws
Oh,
you.
no. Better luck next time.
So I think the trick there is probably to start the casino run and then try and hit a whole bunch of things. Maybe if you can do the casino run while in multiball, that would be helpful too. But yeah, we're just going in circles at this point. So let's just let the balls drain out and see what a 5-time score for that really gets you.
Shoot again.
There you go, just make sure it doesn't drain out before the ball saver's done.
Shoot again.
And then shoot again.
Don't go away. Stay
There we
right
go.
there.
And 16 billion is a ridiculously high score, but it doesn't seem insanely high. Yeah, if I wanted the dice wager to be the max, I need to be able to hit this, the bumpers, a lot more. And the bumpers in this table are not positioned quite right. So it is fairly difficult to get them to do more than a few hits. And what I would have tried to fix there is to have some more slingshots or something to bounce the ball from the far right edge into the bumpers. But that might have messed with the skill shot. I have to really wonder how far from max bumpers is that, because it seems like it could continue to go very high. And it doesn't feel like there's a reward that would give you max bumpers either. Although that seems like that would make a lot of sense if there was a fairly easy max bumpers reward. Something that maybe held from ball to ball.
Take a card.
See if 20 million's not the max multiplier. There's a lot of awards I'm collecting by just randomly hitting things, too.
I'll take one.
20 million on the dot, so let's hit it one more time and see if that is the max. I assume yeah, it is. So 20 million's the max. I assume you still would get points every time you shot the bumper. Some small number of points. There we go.
Pinball poker. One pair.
Double or nothing.
cash that in and go for another shot up the ramp. But not only do you have to get the bumpers hit quite a bit, you also have to be able to then cheat, which does just kind of highlight that if you're going to play a really good game of this to get some of these wizard goals, you're going to potentially end up putting the end up going through the casino run mode 2 or 3 times, and mega jackpots and things like that may happen a couple times. You don't have to do every wizard goal in the same game, thank goodness, but a lot of things are really highly demanding. And they really just feel like things that a lot of pinball players would never even realize existed and would never even hope to see in their life. There is this element of playing an arcade game that is so different from video games, and this is probably a large reason why video games effectively eradicated pinball and even arcade games, home video games. But the time limit, we've got to go in 30 minutes issue is always true in an arcade game, and it's very rarely true nowadays in a home video game. You might be able to save or pause a game even if you did have to do something else. So the idea of being stuck on a game like this, and if you walk away, somebody else is gonna take your game and ruin it, is at the back of the mind of a lot of people. Or if it takes a massive 20 minutes to actually get to the point where you can activate the late game stages in a lot of pinball tables, you may not have that 20 minutes. A lot of people, a lot of pinball players are, I forgot to cheat there, were little kids. They probably only had an attention span and enough time for like 5 minutes. It was fairly common for kids to sneak off to an arcade while their parents were in some other store in the mall, and they've only got like 5 precious minutes until their parents find them. And it's fairly common for like arcades to be in movie theaters where the movie's going to start at a very specific time, so the game can't be paused. That's something a modern pinball table could certainly adjust for. It would not be hard to I forgot to cheat.
Double or nothing.
So yeah, even though I had the score at the maximum there, I forgot to cheat. So I didn't get the 6-6, which is what you would need.
Big point.
Which then that leaves me going all the way through the casino run again. And that's just totally not worth it. This, like a lot of other tables, is a table where you'd want to get the score multiplier and the build up and do a lot of things. Earn an extra ball first before you even start a multi-ball. If you can guarantee you'll never accidentally drain the ball out. If you can't guarantee that though, then you might as well always shoot for the safest shot you can do, which is usually to start a multi-ball and have more balls scoring faster. The dice wager does carry over from ball to ball, which that's good to know. But yeah, I guess there is a possibility that a memory card and a token could be ejected from a Pinball Arcade machine. That way, the memory card could return a modern pinball table to a state, and then you could have save states. There's a lot of room for hacking in that, certainly, but maybe not enough that it would really matter. There's potentially a lot of room for cheating because you could have a save state that is duplicated on some kind of memory card, but that may not matter either. You couldn't give people free memory cards though, so it'd have to almost be that it was saved in the table and the table just had a hard drive, and it would erase the save state after you resumed, and it would erase the save states after the hard drive was full or after a week. But yeah, the idea of potentially coming back week after week to an arcade and being able to continue your last game would be a very appealing sales pitch as an idea. So yeah, 24 million would have had to have been the 20 million bumpers, then scoring and cheating to a 12 for the roll the dice. 4 of a card is cheating. Super jackpot could be done. Collecting $1 billion plus casino run total is questionable. I guess the question really comes down to how much is a special worth. And then the mega jackpot is sort of doable, sort of not. See if there's any tips here. Casino run strategy. Make sure you cheat every time before the reels on the display spin. Before the reels start spinning, repeatedly press the extra ball button for a chance to cheat. If the middle wheel stops on a bomb, a successful cheat will defuse it. Cheating only works once per casino run. Once you cheat away a bomb, it's a good idea to collect your casino run total, unless you've acquired a no bomb, which also defuses bomb. With a no bomb and the cheat, you usually can defuse 2 bombs in a casino run. Once you've defused a bomb twice, it's a good idea to collect the running total. Multiball strategy, what's that? For super jackpots, first trapping the ball in the left flipper and right flipper, then backhand the balls into the right eye and the left eye within a couple seconds. Backhand means slapping the balls against the slingshot or upward. Scores a super jackpot worth 3 times the current jackpot, and it counts as 3 of the 15 jackpots you need to do. After that, backhand the cashier target from the left flipper, and avoid shooting directly at the hit me target as it's too risky. Instead, shoot the saucer to relight all 4 jackpots. Repeat the strategy as many times as you can. Alright. So then my only question would be the special reward. Let's see, in balls and specials. MK3 hint at casino run, which I guess is Mark 3. We never really got a narrative as far as whether Pinbot was built by humans or just existed or was built by somebody else. We want to know how much the special's worth, because that would affect. Specials are worth 1 million points and can be collected from casino run mode. If the same prize appears on all 3 reels during casino run, a special is automatically awarded. Special is automatically awarded if a cow appears on one of the reels. If a special appears on a reel, it's added to the casino run total. So how do you get the casino run up to $1 billion? Once the ball is in play, all switches add 4 million points to the casino run total. If the tire expires at any point, casino run ends. So yeah, a more legitimate version of the game must just add 4 million, 4 million, 4 million. Although still, to get to 1 billion, starting at like 10 million and adding 4 million with every hit, you're talking minimal 25 hits to get it up to even 100 million. So 250 hits seems ridiculously high. So is there a multiplier applied to this? Or casino games can be replayed once casino run ends. Bonus X immediately advances the end of ball multiplier by 1x. Special gives you 1 million. Light ball extra, more time. Vortex at max increases the vortex millions value up to 50 million. Cal gives you a special worth 1 million. There's 150 million is probably the best one you could get. So if you got 2 or 3 150 millions, then maybe you could, like, 350 millions is probably 450 million. It probably doesn't triple or anything like that if you got just 3 in a row. That may not even be possible. So you'd have to do it like 2 or 3 times. In Mark III hint, this has a chance of coming up if you engage and hold both flippers while the wheels are spinning. In addition to a Mark III hint, it immediately awards an extra ball. If the same prize appears on all 3, a special is awarded. Also cheat. Yeah, that casino run wizard goal seems insanely high. Insanely high. 1 billion. Half a billion would make much more sense. Well, that's Jackpot. Let's go for one game, even though we're going long here, and play Pinbot. Just to remind ourselves what Pinbot looked like. Let's see, do we have a pro member menu on this? Yeah, we do. So in Pinbot, you had score multiplier with a space theme. They got rid of the space and went with gambling. There was a whole mode around moving closer and closer to the sun. This shot is in the exact same place. These shots are, once again, in the exact same place. The colors are different, but they basically did not change any of the angles on the table at all. Although, maybe they did make a slight adjustment because these angular things are now more vertical. The images are different. I prefer the orange vortex, but you can see how it has numbers on it and they wanted to get rid of that. I don't particularly prefer the blue, but the blue here at least makes sense. And this is a much more colorful 70s style table. And you can see in this visor actual people, and you can't actually see through this visor compared to the Jackpot. It's basically the exact same table though, otherwise, with no LCD matrix, which almost feels like you could have made an aftermarket adjustment to just add a LCD matrix later. The audio sounds worse, of course. The flippers maybe are just as good, if not better. the sound of the visor opening is interestingly more interesting. Now the beeping sound that that sometimes plays on this table can be annoying. So I definitely feel like I would not specifically try to play Jackpot first. If there was a Pinbot table and a Jackpot table right next to each other, I'd say I would want to play Pinbot first and play it for about an hour. And then I'd probably play Jackpot after for maybe 45 minutes. There is more to do in Jackpot, and it's maybe a little bit easier because moving forward towards the sun is not particularly an easy thing. Pinbot doubles your score completely when you have two pinballs on the table. Which that is something that doesn't seem to have carried over. I'm getting some fairly weak shots, so I would say the flippers on the new table are slightly improved. I still don't know why you'd put art of the flippers below the regular flippers. So that just seems kind of silly. It's like, would the people maintaining a pinball table really need that kind of guide? I don't think so. But maybe that does help in some weird way. Maybe that helps position the flippers in case you accidentally put them a little too low or a little too high. If I ever did run into a table where the flippers were slightly in the wrong place, I probably wouldn't have even noticed it. I doubt it would change how the table played that much compared to just weak flippers versus strong flippers. I still don't know why they bothered to put the metal ramps behind the flippers, though. Seems unnecessary. And then I think it is definitely worth it to find Bride a Pinbot. And then compare that, because this is the really, really different table that's completely not connected, which this makes a lot more sense instead of just remaking an old table to make a new theme. That being said, I bet this table did not sell anywhere as well as Pinbot did, and I bet they definitely wanted to try to recapture those sales. Jackpot might also be just an example of a growing desperation amongst pinball designers to get more sales, in that they effectively are remaking one of their best tables ever for sale. But also, I would say they fairly waited until there was actual improvements that could be made. Jackpot is a generation ahead, at least, of what Pinbot is. Whereas Bride of Pinbot is maybe a generation ahead, but I would also maybe say it's only half a generation ahead, depending on where you would draw the generations. And I don't know if there are any kind of discrete lines. Unlike home video games, there's not an NES era and a Super NES era or anything like that. Because any table could be almost from any time, and that's something I've definitely noticed while looking at pinball tables. Is a lot of the tables I've seen feel like they would have been a lot older. Some of the tables feel like they would have been a lot newer. and this table still suffers kind of from that one note concept, but it takes what is a very open playfield in Pinbot and goes the exact opposite direction with it and crams it with just a lot of shots. And yeah, there's a lot going on here. Maybe not too much, but probably. The fact that you've got basically nothing happening at all in the upper playfield that isn't connected directly to an upper playfield gimmick, and it's just taking up half of the table is a little extreme. But I will say, Jackpot's way better than playing, say, Big Hurt or Wipeout or Whitewater. Whitewater's. I'm kind of warming up a little bit more to Whitewater, frankly. I don't remember Wipeout at all, but thematically, it's much more interesting to play Jackpot than it is to play a real world sport themed table. And the history there certainly helps too. So let's see. Overall, we've got some cheaters, obviously, and then it jumps quickly down to 196 billion on the score. And then by the time you're at like 50, it's a very reasonable 30 plus billion score. Which, yeah, I could see really, really good players getting scores up that high. Let's see, all time. Let's see what my score would be. I'm in the 12,214 with 1,225 points. That seems fairly reasonable. Not terrible. Weekly, playing this on a Thursday, I am in the 27th highest position. So let's see how high that goes up. Well, you've got somebody that got 16 billion and 7 billion. Shows are fairly high scores. And then monthly, I'm in the 84th position, playing this on the 15th day of the month, which still not terrible. Like I'm fairly proud of that scoring. So I can't see a way that this table doesn't get favorited, which then, if we go to my tables, puts us now at 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 favorite tables, which arguably, if we have 30 tables that we really, really love, and then 100 tables that we don't love so much, you're not getting the best bang for your buck, particularly since what I paid for these tables was fairly expensive too. But the access is what I was buying, certainly, so it seemed like a good deal. And even though I don't have things like Central Park in the favorites, I could see myself going back and playing Central Park. In fact, ones that I know I just absolutely hated were Genie and Paragon, so I probably would never come back to that one. Let's see. Then Transmission, this one, TX Power, I don't think I would go back and play that. And Bone Busters, I don't think I'd go back and play that, although there is almost an argument to go back and play that and just to compare it to the Ghostbusters table. I have gone back and played Phantom of the Opera. I don't think I'd specifically try to go back and play Cactus Jacks. Cyclone 2 barely has a reason to go back and play it, but I probably would play it. I don't think I'd spend a lot of time going back and playing Gladiator. A lot of these I've forgotten. Gone Nuts, wherever that was. We skipped that one. I wouldn't play that one. And yeah, I could see skipping Big Hurt and never going back to play that. Maybe Wipeout, but I don't even remember that. So even though I have a favorites list of 30, I only have really a hates list of about 5. Whereas every other table, yeah, it would make sense to just put it on random and occasionally play a table, which that is something you can do, is just to say play random, and that gets you to a random table you own. I assume a random table you own. Maybe it's just a random table in general, and if you don't own it, then you end up playing a trial or getting an advertisement. Next time we'll be playing Frankenstein. There's room for failure there, certainly in my opinion, but it could also be fairly good. And then we have No Fear, which I could say the exact same thing, and then we're going to get to Theater of Magic, which is one of the best tables, I think. I think Whodunit is also based kind of like on Clue, or maybe the game Werewolf, which is kind of based on the game Clue. So we may have a good table there too. So these last 4 have high chance of success, and then you've got Junkyard and Safecracker, which I think are pretty good, and then Scared Stiff, which I think is pretty good, and Arabian Nights, and then I believe this is Medieval Madness, which I think is pretty good, and No Good Golfers, which I think is pretty good, and this is Starship Troopers, so that should be at least interesting. I don't know what this table is, but then you have Monster Mash, Cactus, and Champion Pub, which I think is pretty good. So the last gasp, potentially, of good pinball tables seem to be right at the end of that era, the 90s era, which either means that, according to Pinball Arcade, when they were curating, there was a gap in which pinball tables were really bad, or more likely there was a gap in which pinball tables were just not built. Which that might be the better way for any industry to go out of business, instead of grasping on and scrounging to the bottom of the barrel, for them to just say, all right, we can't make any money even though we're getting better and better at the quality of our development. We just need to call it a day. Speaking of needing to call it a day, we've been playing for 2 hours and 13 minutes, so that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good